Spiral Dial. Sci-fi with a soundscape.
Amy, alive, skin glowing, hair glistening, and Ant, cheery and chirpy as ever, affable on the surface with a dark centre. Jessica sat there in disbelief listening to their story. Amy needed some help with her cold sore before the show later that evening. She found herself nodding and smiling, but her mind was racing. "Do you know," she said, interrupting them, "I've quite lost track of time. Do you know how long it is since I came on board, Ant?" He nodded. "Of course. Time on board ship can be a little strange. I've had a few people mention that to me. You've only been on board for a matter of hours. Just wait until you've been here longer. That's when it really kicks in." Hours? How could it be hours? She had been here for weeks. She forced herself to smile. "Hours, yes. I've lost track of the date, too. Could you help me out?" "Sure, Doctor." He glanced at his watch. She'd never noticed it before, but he was wearing one identical to the one she had seen on Archie. She pulled down her sleeve to hide her own bare wrist. She had no intention of putting hers on. The box lay hidden at the very bottom of the wardrobe. She hoped that it wouldn't go off and give her away. "It's August 13th, to be exact. Is that what you were expecting?" He smiled. His teeth looked sharp, white, like a crocodile. She shuddered. So it was true. She was back where she had started. Or at least they were. The watch was, but where was the outside world? Did it even exist? She remembered Archie and his tales of a flood, just as soon raised as completely forgotten. And there had been other doctors. What had happened to them? "Did you know the old doctor?" she asked. "Oh yes," Amy said. "I used to help them out in the clinic, as a healthcare assistant, you know?" "Do you remember what they looked like? It's a small world, you know. I might know them." "Oh yes," Amy said. "The most beautiful red hair. Not that yours isn't beautiful, you understand, but it was a very unusual colour, striking. You couldn't miss it." Red hair. She remembered the corpse in the laboratory, the horror of its face dissolving into the glass wall. Was there a new doctor every time, or had she been the one to buck the trend? It seemed that from Amy and Ant's point of view, ship life was continuing as normal. She, on the other hand, had the chance to make things new. Perhaps she could stop all of the horror happening. She remembered Archie's face beneath the earth. Begin again, he had said. And begin again, they had. He must surely be able to help her, but for now, her entire focus had to be on Amy. "Amy, this is going to seem like a lot to you," she said. "But this may be more serious than just a cold sore. I'd like to run some tests. Would it be okay to come down to the clinic?" Amy shrugged. "Sure, no problem. As long as I can make the show tonight." "I'll do my best," Jessica replied. An hour later, Jessica had taken bloods and started Amy on antibiotics. It only remained to break the news to her that she was pregnant, and she most certainly was not comfortable doing that with Ant in the room. "Ant, would you mind fetching us something to eat?" "I'm the ship's engineer, I'll have you know. Not your floozy," he said, elbows planted on his hips. Was he taking the mickey? Those sounded like her own words. She decided to ignore it. She was pretty sure that it would have been incredibly irritating a few months ago, but right now, it just didn't have the same impact. She took him aside. "Actually, Ant, I need to have a quiet word with Amy, on her own. Women's troubles," she said. Right, gotcha. Consider it done. He tapped the side of his nose with his index finger, winking, before making a swift exit. She locked the door behind him. Sorry about that, she said. I felt we should have some privacy. May I ask, is there any chance you could be pregnant? Amy's face lost its cheerful expression at once. You mustn't tell anyone. If Patricia finds out, I don't know what I'll do. They're very strict, you know. I had to sign something saying I'd stay celibate for the whole voyage. That's ridiculous, Jessica said. How could they possibly enforce that? They said all crew members had to get the implant, you know, for reliability, because we're going to be travelling to such remote places, but I got the doctor to take mine out. It was giving me a horrible acne, just disgusting. I couldn't walk around like that, but now I'm really screwed. Literally. Look, I'm here to help, Jessica said, placing a reassuring hand on her arm. Amy's skin was so soft beneath her touch. She tried and failed to keep her thoughts professional before deciding that on balance it would be best to keep her hands to herself. She leaned back and tilted her head to one side, aiming for restrained yet empathetic. Have you had any thoughts about what you'd like to do with the pregnancy? Oh, I'd like to keep it, of course, Amy said. But there's also a big problem with doing that. Completely my own fault, of course, but I'm not sure how best to deal with it, especially working in such close confines. I wouldn't want things to get any more awkward than they already are. You see? Jessica tried to imagine Archie's reaction to being told he was going to be a dad. Having seen the way he treated babies, she wasn't sure if she'd want to tell him at all if it were her. You can feel free to be honest with me. Everything we discuss is completely confidential, if you'd like to share. Amy took a deep breath. You see, I don't know for sure who the father is.